The Automated Podcast.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Automated Podcast with your host, Mark Verbenkov. So this week, we're going to continue the discussion surrounding synthetic media and deepfakes, but look a little bit more specifically into the negative aspects, as well as, of course, the future repercussions of this technology becoming ubiquitous. So my guest this week is Raymond Lee. He is the founder of FakeNetAI, which is a Berkeley-based startup developing deepfake detection technology. So prior to FakeNetAI, he spent 8 years in business analyst roles for an energy company and a biotech company. He then went on to pursue his master's in data science at UC Berkeley School of Information, where he immersed himself in developing machine learning models to detect deepfakes, leading to the creation of FakeNetAI. So as Raymond and I focus on the more pernicious aspects of deepfakes this episode, we do look at some specific recent examples that I think really highlight the need for a better understanding and awareness of this technology, and of course, why more jobs in deepfake detection will be required as time goes on. I hope you enjoy the episode. Great. Well, hi there, Raymond. Thanks for coming on to the Automated Podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Great. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I think it fits really, really well as you work in the realm of deepfakes and synthetic media. And last week I had on another guest who was also on the same subject, and he was giving us quite a kind of a robust overview of the industry. But I think your company, FakeNetAI, really touches on some of the problems with deepfakes. So though I touched on it last week with Victor, I was wondering if maybe we could start off with some of the problems with deepfakes and maybe go into that a little bit more. A number of the problems that were brought up were kind of deepfakes within politics, right? So you have like fake news in the political side of things. You have both celebrity and bullying porn, fraud, and general fake news. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Or
Yeah, sure. Those are good areas to start. And then there's also a few second order effects of deepfakes that we could discuss as well. So now I'll take a step back for the listeners who may not know or who didn't listen to the podcast last week. Mm-hmm. I'll briefly explain what a deepfake is. So a deepfake is an AI generated form of media. So it could be video, it could be audio or text. And it's generated through AI, and it's becoming increasingly realistic. So if you were to look at a deepfake video, in studies that we've done, viewers who view a set of deepfake videos and real videos are only able to detect deepfake videos 60% of the time. And we think that as deepfake technology is increasing, that number will become even lower and lower.
That's really interesting. I was not aware of that figure. That's really interesting.
Yep. And what got me actually into deepfakes was I saw the Obama Puppet Master deepfake back, I believe it was in 2017. And I had actually thought it looked incredibly like Obama. It even sounded like Obama. But as I continued watching that clip, I realized that it was Jordan Peele controlling Obama's face movements and impersonating his voice. So that was my first experience with deepfakes, and that kind of made me realize how powerful this technology is.
Right, and it's quite a new technology as well, right? It hasn't been out for some 20 years or so. So if there's already 60% of the people that can't tell a deep fake from a normal real video, the numbers are definitely going to go up in the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. We definitely believe so. I'll introduce sort of like the history of deepfakes as well.
Sure.
So the first deepfake was believed to be created in 2017. A user was able to use what's called a generative adversarial network, which is machine learning technology developed by Ian Goodfellow. A user was able to use that to swap an actress's face into a pornographic video. and that is the first instance of a deepfake being used back in just 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Want to also give some numbers on how deepfakes have grown since then. So as of June 2020, there are about 50,000 deepfake videos on the internet. Compared to back in December 2018, there were about 8,000 deepfake videos on the internet. So deepfakes are growing at an exponential rate. And some say that pretty soon, we don't know if it's 5 years or 10 years, but at some point, if we don't do anything about deepfake videos, they will flood the internet and viewers will not know what's real and what's fake.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty scary idea when you think about it. I mean, the amount of say pictures now that are completely altered in one way or another on the internet is I don't know the numbers, but I would assume it would be in the 90s or high 90 percentiles. Um, so I think that there's this idea that images can't be trusted online, but videos for the most part are still maybe I wouldn't say that they're fully trusted online, but maybe they have a higher degree of trust. But yeah, if you're mentioning these deep fake videos are going to be kind of ubiquitous, the trust in videos is going to be significantly less, which I don't think is a good thing.
Right, right. I think one reason why people trust videos more is because it is harder to alter a video. You would need to spend a lot of time, or traditionally, you would have needed to spend a lot of time altering each frame of the video.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but now, deepfakes are able to be created. They used to take hours, now they take minutes, sometimes even seconds. So, because it's going to become as easy to doctor a video as it is now to doctor an image, we think that that trust will continue to decline.
Right. And so you were mentioning some of these the problems. You gave that example of the first one. You're based in San Francisco, so I think the world is quite aware of the swaying of public opinion in the 2016 election within politics. Um, what, in your opinion, is kind of the most problematic issue? Is it politics? Is it this cyber bullying through the use of porn, or is it just general fake news and distrust in communication between people?
That's a great question. I think they're all equally concerning in their own ways, and I could touch more on that. So with fake news, yes, we've seen that fake news has been used to shape public opinion, and by introducing fake videos, I think that fake news has potential to become even more believable and
Hmm.
cause even more harm. There's also been cases of deepfakes being used to facilitate in fraud. There's an example of an audio deepfake being used to scam a utility company out of $200,000.
Hmm.
So what happened in that case was somebody, a scammer, essentially impersonated a CEO's voice using audio deepfake technology, and they had asked a member of the company to transfer $200,000 urgently.
Hmm.
And so the employee, feeling pressure from the quote unquote CEO, went ahead and transferred that money to the scam account. And that is a notable example of deepfakes actually being used for harm in the real world. And since then, there's actually been another incident in which somebody tried to do the same thing, but the employee did not fall for it in that case.
That's really interesting. Technology in general is typically used by criminals and for porn when it first comes out. But yeah, it's really interesting to hear kind of a specific use case of deepfakes being used for fraud. I wasn't aware of that example either. So those are two examples of deepfakes being used for fraud. Is this trend kind of growing in scope, or is this still localized to just a few small examples?
Still a few small examples actually, but the companies that we've been working with are becoming more and more concerned with it.
Mhm.
So we have a pilot agreement with one of the largest financial institutions in the world, and they transact trillions of dollars every day. And they want to have insurance against this kind of deepfake attack. We think that these types of attacks will increase to the point where it kind of matches the level of, say, other types of spear phishing attacks. And it's only a matter of time until then. But we know that companies want to get ahead of this. They don't want to fall victim and lose 200K or more to one of these types of attacks. They also don't want to accidentally give away other types of valuable assets, such as intellectual property, customer information, to one of these types of attacks. So they want to protect themselves.
So maybe this is a good segue into your company, FakeNetAI. The main reason I was very excited to have you on to the podcast today, because I think your company is one of the few, if not the only one, that really tries to tackle this problem of the future problematic deepfakes. Maybe you can introduce your company, give us a little bit of history, and then, of course, exactly what you guys do.
Yeah. So my company, FakeNetAI, is a deepfake detection company. We use machine learning models to detect deepfakes, and our customers right now are financial institutions and news media outlets. So one, we have a pilot agreement with a large financial institution, and then we also partnered with one of Facebook's fact-checking partners. They're a
Okay.
company called News Mobile, based in India, and they have a reach of 30 million. And essentially what we do is we protect these companies from deepfake attacks, and we also scan social media for deepfakes so that, say, a news media company could find content to kind of debunk or write about, ensuring that other people don't get fooled by a deepfake. So, for example, if there is a deepfake of a political figure, potentially that has potential to go viral or is already sort of viral, we're able to detect that deepfake and let the news media know why our machine learning algorithm detects that it's a deepfake, and they're able to write about that deepfake and then amplify their fact check post so that it reaches as many people as possible. And the more people that see or know that it is a deepfake, the less damage that deepfake can have.
Yeah. And one of the questions I have here is, so you're kind of identifying these deepfakes in the social media and larger, I guess, online presence where deepfakes are. Is there a way for you to identify permanently whether a video or something is fake, like label it directly into the video itself, or is it simply identifying the deepfake and then showing the person that it would impact to kind of mitigate those measures?
Right. Right now, we're pretty much showing the user of our product that it is a deep fake. We hope to eventually partner with, say, a social media company to integrate within their infrastructure so that we
Hmm.
could help them label videos. That's potentially one avenue that we could go after. Another avenue that we could explore is providing an add-on for users so they could perhaps download a Chrome app, and then we'll be able to scan videos that they view in the Chrome app and let them know whether or not it's a deepfake.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, especially if this is possible for users to do, right? Because I would imagine, even though I think Facebook has an army of people trying to label videos or posts or images as not kind of conforming to their platform guidelines, the amount of content that's being produced out there is just it's kind of impossible for any group of individuals to do. So if this can be done kind of at a bottom-up approach where the users are actually labeling these things, it might be more useful in the long run. I had another question. So this is mostly for video, or are you doing this also for audio and for images?
We also do this for images. There have been research reports of individuals detecting audio deepfakes or creating machine learning models to detect deepfakes, and they have been successful. Some models have been successful over 90% of the time on some benchmarks. So we plan to branch into audio deepfake detection as well, because we think audio deepfakes could be growing in numbers as well.
Yeah, I mean, as a podcaster, this is quite an interesting domain for me. Is audio? Do you know, is audio deepfakes harder to detect than video? I mean, I've seen a number of video deepfakes out there, and some are amazing, and some are, not quite so amazing. But with audio, I would assume that it's perhaps a little bit simpler to create. No.
That's a good question. So yes, video deepfakes, some are incredibly convincing.
Mm-hmm.
With audio deepfakes, I haven't heard a convincing audio deepfake. Um, I've heard a Joe Rogan deepfake that was fairly convincing, but it did have some weird pauses. The problem with audio deepfakes now is getting a wide range of expression. So
Right.
you can create an audio deepfake and it could be fairly monotone. But if the more expression you want to add, the more difficult it is to create. So that being said, whether or not audio deepfakes are easier to detect than video deepfakes, I think maybe for a human to detect an audio deepfake now, I haven't been convinced by an audio deepfake yet. Maybe that says something about it.
But as I guess, as you were saying before, that's now, and maybe in a few years' time, this might be completely different for audio and of course, as you said, for video as well. If this is a trend that's going to continue, and you're saying that deepfakes are already done so well, is it? I mean, I don't know how your algorithm works, but is it possible that in 5, 10, maybe 15 years time that it would become impossible to detect whether a deep fake is a deep fake?
We think that will eventually be the case, whether it's 5, 10 years or even further, because of the nature of how deepfakes are created and how deepfakes are detected. It's only a matter of time until the deepfakes get to such a high level of quality that it's hard for a detector to really differentiate between real and fake. And there are things we can do to slow the pace of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give some context on how deepfakes are created. So essentially, deepfakes are created through a generator and discriminator relationship. So a generator creates an image and it sends it to a discriminator. And then the discriminator, which is trained on real and fake images, is able to provide feedback on the generator's image. And so if the discriminator thinks that the generator's image is fake, the discriminator will provide that feedback to the generator, and the generator will try again, send a new image to the discriminator, and repeat the process until eventually the discriminator cannot tell if the image is real or fake.
So in a couple of years, then this dance between these two different kinds of algorithms won't necessarily lead to any kind of actual detection. It'll just be the discriminator won't be able to discriminate whether the image is fake or not.
Exactly. With that in mind, we think it's only a matter of time, but there's things we can do to slow it down. So one thing that we're doing is we are partnering with deepfake generation companies. We've spoken with multiple deepfake generation companies, and they are interested in providing us their data so that we could train our models on their state-of-the-art deepfakes and therefore make our model more robust and more accurate. And we think that by making our model more robust and more accurate using this exclusive training data from these deepfake generation companies, we'll be able to have a really accurate deepfake detection model. And that will discourage people from trying to, or make it more difficult for people to sort of fool our model in the meantime. So that's one way we could slow down the inevitable.
Right. So if this process takes, say, 10 to 15 years, I can kind of foresee a little bit of a cat and mouse game, right? Where your algorithm is getting better at detection, but also the deepfakes are getting better at, well, just being deepfakes and fooling people. So there's this continuous back and forth where each of your individual models are getting better at doing whatever it is that they're doing. But if you're saying also that eventually it will become impossible for any algorithm to detect deepfakes, what do you see your company evolving into? If this, let's just put a round number on it, if this takes 15 years, I would assume that your company evolves or pivots into some different perspective, no?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So instead of doing what we're currently doing, which is a detection-based method, looking at a video, telling and seeing if it's fake or not, what we may move into is more of a provenance-based solution where we verify the original contents right from the start. So perhaps we embed our technology into a video device manufacturer's technology as well, so that when a person takes a video or image or a picture on their iPhone, for example, or their Samsung, we can take some valuable metadata from that image, such as location, pixel contents, and then store that in a database that we could always refer to. And that way we could sort of trace back the original details of a photo or a video. And that will allow us to sort of track whether or not any manipulations were done, and pretty much make it easier to tell whether or not a video is original or has been doctored.
Okay, that's really interesting. This is kind of the main point of confusion I had in last week's episode. I was unsure as to the future outlook of these deepfake detection technologies out there. But if the move is towards, as you said, the provenance of the videos itself, it makes it much more likely that there will be kind of a separation or a split in the media that's being produced, where you have known deepfakes and known authentic media. And the known authentic media will come from companies like yours, where you're actually labeling that media as authentic, which I think kind of positions you in quite an interesting and maybe even powerful role in the next, let's say, 15 years or so.
Right, right. We know that deepfakes are being used for harm now, and people are being affected by deepfakes now. So that's why uh, we've embarked on our deepfake detection journey, using the detection methods that I discussed earlier. For now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. One of the other things I was wondering about was the kind of future of deepfakes themselves. So you mentioned that deepfakes are going to become, more ubiquitous. They're going to be with us all the time. The quality is going to get better. Do you think that they will just become part of everybody's everyday life? Because, as you also mentioned, they're going to get easier and easier to produce, kind of like digital pictures are now.
Yeah, I think if we don't do anything about them, they will flood social media, or they'll flood the internet, and we won't know what's real and what's fake. And that could create two second order effects that I mentioned earlier, that I kind of alluded to earlier. So one is reality apathy. So because the volume of real videos matches the volume of fake videos, because there will be so many fake videos on the internet, we won't know what's real and what's fake. People will sort of suffer reality apathy, where they disengage with video as a form of information, and they will not believe anything they see, any video that they see. And this is a dangerous situation. And we have an example actually of this happening about a year or two ago in the country of Gabon. There was an attempted military coup because people did not believe that a video of the president was actually him. And so they hadn't seen the president for a few months. Nobody knew if he was alive or dead. They saw the video. They thought it was a deep fake. So they didn't believe it. And that led to a military coup, which lasted, I believe, at least a day, but it led to a few deaths.
Hmm.
So that is a very scary second order effect of deepfakes flooding the internet. Is this reality apathy phenomenon that I mentioned. Another type of second order effect is the liar's dividend. So because eventually there may be so much fake media on the web, people can just say any video is a fake because the plausible deniability is increased. And so there is an example of a former candidate who ran for the House of Representatives. They published a 23-page report alleging that the individuals in the George Floyd video were deepfakes.
Hmm.
So this is another scary second order effect. And you've also heard instances of people being recorded, whether it's audio or video, and it looks like it's them. They could just say it's not them.
Right.
That plausible deniability is there. So this liar's dividend is a very scary second order effect. That if we let deepfakes sort of flood the internet, then those are some things we have to sort of consider and be aware of.
Yeah, that's I mean, I was unaware of these two situations before. It's kind of painting a scary picture for the future if deepfakes are used in such a way, or if the impact of deepfakes actually happens. I think it's really quite a shame because as we're becoming more and more inundated with video, especially, it's becoming easier than ever before to actually learn things or share ideas, right? It's been already discussed on the podcast where, videos, because it has so many more different aspects to it, our minds, our brains are able to engage with it more and actually retain more information than just say straight text or straight audio for that matter. So videos in that sense typically make a more engaging product. And if these issues that you're mentioning continue and grow, I think we're also going to be missing something quite substantial with the creation of video, text, audio, and pictures as well.
Exactly. If we lose video as a information source, then that is not a future I want to be a part of. Well, maybe that's too pessimistic, but I mean, there's so many positive benefits of video as an information source and as a way to engage with others, that we just have to make sure that we have, as we develop new synthetic media methods to increase that engagement, we also have to be mindful of the harmful effects and how to counter the harmful effects.
Yeah, I couldn't agree further with you. Maybe we can end on a positive note. I think you've done a great job about explaining kind of the negative aspects of deepfakes, and of course, then where your company FakeNetAI fits into this growing trend of deepfakes. Maybe I'll just ask you, like, what are some of your preferred or favorite positive effects of deepfakes as you see them coming out?
In the case of like a company like Synthesia, or there's another company called Lobo AI, they're making um, really more engaging content, and saving a lot of costs in producing videos. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's that's awesome. I know, after me working in industry for 8 years, I know, like, the training videos that I saw, I see the issues that Victor from Synthesia mentioned. So the videos were very, very general, but if those videos could be more personalized, then that would make the video more engaging and more relevant and save a lot of people time as well. So I think that's definite positive use case. Um, and I think the types of content that we're going to see in the future from synthetic media will be pretty amazing. I think one thing that I've seen is, in, say, the Star Wars movie, it took animators 18 months to recreate an actor. And deepfakes have the potential to significantly decrease that time. So the content that we're going to see in the future, there's kind of no limits to what we're going to see in terms of positive content as well. We just have to make sure that that we put things in place to make sure that the technology, as powerful as it is, it's used for good, and we can reduce it from being used for harm.
I couldn't agree further with you. I really like the way that we went through kind of a lot of the negative potentialities of deepfakes and ended with this quite nice, positive, hopeful, I would even say, possibility. Raymond, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Where can people get in touch with you or contact you or follow your work if they wish to do so?
They could check out the website, FakeNetAI.com. They could find me on Twitter, Ray Lee Tweet, or LinkedIn, Ray Lee LinkedIn. And they could also shoot me an email, Raymond@FakeNetAI.com. I'd love to hear your feedback. And we didn't mention some other cases of people being affected by, or didn't go into detail about some people being affected by deepfake pornography. But if you do have a video in question and you are not sure if it's a deepfake or not, please let us know, and we'd be happy to sort of run it through our deepfake detection algorithm and give you a result and see if that can help you as well. And also, if you want to talk more about machine learning or data science, please reach out as well.
Thank you very much for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you and your company all the best.
Glad to have been a part of this, and I appreciate you having me on.
So thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to support the podcast, you can leave a like or a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to get in touch, feel free to do so over Twitter or LinkedIn by searching for Automated Podcast. On the website, automatedpodcast.org, you can leave a comment on any of the episodes, read the transcripts, and look at the sources I use in all of these episodes. There are also blog articles and additional resources and information on this topic and podcast if you are looking for more. See you next week.